What's up, shitheads? Today is Wednesday, November 30th. And at 5 o'clock today, the University of Idaho will be hosting their candlelight vigil for the 4 University of Idaho students that were found stabbed to death in their off-campus home on November 13th. And with the current state of the weather, because there is a snowstorm currently in the area, the University of Idaho has moved the candlelight vigil indoors. Here are the latest updates in this case and what we know to be true so far. Yesterday, Tuesday, November 29th, officers were at the scene to tow away all of the cars that had been cordoned off as part of the crime scene for the past 16 days. A total of 5 cars were towed from the residence of 1122 King Road and taken to the police department to secure for long-term storage, as well as for further evidence gathering, according to Idaho State Police Communications Director Aaron Snell. The day before, Monday, November 28th, officers were seen going into the residence to retrieve what appeared to be car keys, and then were seen going inside of a red Jeep that was located on the scene. As of yesterday, the county prosecutor, Bill Thompson, stated that they have still not identified a person of interest in this case. He said, "I think it's fair to say that there have been people of interest to the investigators, and everyone that they have identified so far, they have been able to exonerate. Perhaps exonerate isn't the best word, but they've been able to eliminate them as being an actual suspect. And we do not have a name of a person or persons who are actual suspects. That's what they are focusing on still." He also went on to say, "I'm not aware of any single person with a name that we are focusing on or investigators are focusing on." And despite the fact that police still stand by their initial statement that this was a targeted attack, and we discussed that on one of the previous episodes about this case, Bill Thompson said that they do not have any evidence of which victim was specifically targeted, but they feel the house in general was targeted. And it's kind of a crazy statement to make, because saying that the house was targeted, I mean, yeah, the killer chose that house to have his... It really doesn't make any sense. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. They've said this was a targeted attack, and I know they know stuff that we don't, but just generally speaking, we have 4 victims in different rooms on multiple floors of the house, which doesn't really sound like there was a targeted attack towards one specific person, and it doesn't make sense that all 4 would have been targeted. So if it was just a targeted attack against one, who was the primary target, and why would the killer take 3 others as collateral damage when they were presumably asleep during the attack and posed no threat? So here's where the fuckery comes into play. Bill Thompson gave that statement yesterday, but according to KTVB-TV, who apparently has an interview airing at 4 today, it's 3:37 right now, they're claiming that Bill Thompson has confirmed that one of the victims in the home was in fact the target, and that he also stated that he is confident they are going to find out who did this and hold them accountable. Complete 180 from what he said in yesterday's interview. Not 24 hours ago, he gave a statement saying that they do not have any evidence of which victim was specifically targeted, but they feel the house in general was targeted. And now today, in an interview that's going to be airing in 20 minutes, he's allegedly going to say that he can confirm that one of the victims in the home was in fact the target. So, I mean, I'm hoping that he's going to elaborate on that new statement that's about to come out. I mean, in 24 hours to have that much of a contradiction, we're going to need an explanation, my dude. We're going to need you to elaborate on that a little bit for us. But I digress. We'll see what happens here in 20 minutes. Kaylee Goncalves' father spoke publicly yesterday, November 29th, stating that it was fast and no one suffered. And when asked about the unconscious remark made during the 911 call, he said, "I know the girls reached out via text and calling, and I can only assume by the phones being ignored, knowing how my daughter is not going to ignore calls and text, that led to the roommates becoming concerned." Goncalves also said that he wasn't notified of his daughter's death by police, but rather by family on campus. Goncalves also seemed very frustrated with the lack of information being shared between the victim's family and the police, and he said that the family is the one that broke into the phones to assist police, and they're the ones who clarified the timeline of when two of the victims got back to the house, and so he doesn't understand why they won't share more with him at this time, as he has not only helped, but he has also been privy to information that he has kept to himself. Speaking of the timeline, police have finally updated the official timeline. However, if you've been following this case with me, it's not going to be much of an update. Police initially said that Kaylee and Madison arrived home around 1:45 a.m., but as I have stated since the Twitch video came out, week 1, clear as day, the two girls are seen on the Twitch live stream ordering food, and it is time-stamped, clear as day, 1:45 a.m. Based on that and what goes on in the Twitch live stream, I stated that it's more likely they got home closer to 2 a.m. They sure as shit didn't get home at 1:45 a.m. because they're featured on that Twitch live stream, and it very clearly shows a timestamp of 1:45 a.m., and you can't be in two places at once, and since we have them on footage being at this food truck at 1:45 a.m., well, they obviously weren't back home at 1:45 a.m. Kaylee Goncalves' sister confirmed that when she got footage from a neighbor of her sister Kaylee and Madison entering the home at 1:56 a.m. And so police have finally amended the official timeline to reflect that. The timeline issue, however, is not an isolated problem with just Kaylee and Madison. There's a timeline issue as well with the other two victims, Ethan and Zaina. We know that Ethan and Zaina were at the Sigma Chi house right by the crime scene. I mean, you can literally see the Sigma Chi house from the crime scene. And we know that they were there between the hours of 8 and 9 p.m. And then they were allegedly back to the house around 1:45 a.m. But police have stated that they are still unaware and unclear of where Ethan and Zaina were and what they were doing between leaving the Sigma Chi house and returning back to 1122 King Road. Though I'm going to add that it's a little sus that Ethan and Zaina's timeline also has them arriving back to the house at 1:45 a.m., just like Madison and Kaylee's timeline did, until Goncalves' sister proved that to be inaccurate, along with the Twitch livestream timestamped footage. Goncalves also gave some clarity on how Kaylee and Madison got home that night. It was initially said that it was an Uber driver and then it was a private party, but he stated it was a sorority designated driver service that took Kaylee and Madison back to 1122 King Road. Police and investigators obviously worked through the Thanksgiving holiday, and in their last press conference, they released that they had 103 pieces of evidence, over 4,000 photos, and had conducted over 150 interviews, as well as received over 260 media submissions from the public through the FBI link. As it stands to date, officers have said that they have 113 pieces of evidence, and they certainly have more photos as they were seen taking more photos inside of the crime scene over Thanksgiving. The governor of Idaho has also directed up to $1 million of the state's emergency funds for this investigation. One thing that a ton of y'all wanted to know, and I don't blame you because I myself prefer animals to people, is if Kaylee's dog was at the residence. And if he was he harmed? Is he okay? Where is he at now? Well, I'm happy to report that Kaylee's dog Murphy was not harmed and he is okay. When the communications director for the police department, Aaron Snell, was asked about Murphy. He said that Murphy was at the house during the homicides, but he would not state where Murphy was found in the home. Only that officers, when they arrived on the scene, found the dog, and the dog was then taken by Animal Services and later released to a responsible party, which is allegedly, supposedly, I don't know shit about fuck, Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. Police are unfortunately having to spend time that they don't have to spare addressing ridiculous rumors online. So before this situation comes to a close, let's play a speed round of fact versus fuckery. The dog that was attacked nearby. Unfortunately, that story is true, but any connection to this case is fuckery. The rumor that started on Reddit about a red Mustang, pure fuckery. Anything that has to do with drugs, fuckery. And people blaming the neighbor whose name I'm not even going to bring up, pure fuckery. And that's a wrap for this flash round of fact versus fuckery, and it's also a wrap for this situation. That's all for now, and I will see you guys on the next episode.